Hello, and welcome to the Connect Cape Fear podcast, where locals, newcomers, and travelers in and around Wilmington, North Carolina, find community and connection in this beautiful place that we call home. We have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Alan Perry from Perry's Emporium. Alan, welcome to the Connect Cape Fear podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. Appreciate you letting me be here
Absolutely,
today.
and we appreciate having you here. A jewelry store is a fundamental anchor business, if you will, within a community. It marks one of the largest and most important key life events in most people's lives, specifically a wedding. Can you talk a little bit about how did Perry's get started, and why did you feel that Wilmington, North Carolina was the right community to start a business like that?
I am the baby of 6 children. My mother and dad lived in Charlotte. My father was a plumber. And God almighty, by the age of about 8 or 9, you were on the plumbing truck every summer when school was out with a paper bag with an apple, a banana, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and a bottle of water, or make some fruit jar with water back then. They didn't have bottles of water. And we worked all day long in the plumbing business. So when my brother got out of the Army, he was in Florida when he got discharged, and he went to work for a construction company. Well, it rained every day in June down there, and they didn't work, so he got kicked out of his apartment. And he called my mother. He said, I saw this ad for a manager trainee for a jewel box stores corporation. He said, can you Western Union me $50 so I can go to Goodwill and get a suit and, apply? And she did, and he applied, and he got the job. He's never sold anything retail in his life. We're blue-collar grow up. And so he became a store manager trainee, and he had a knack for it, and he became assistant manager. Then he became a manager of a store, and then a manager of a bigger store. And he was in Panama City, Florida.
Okay.
And I got able to get on the Greyhound bus and ride for 9 hours to Florida and spend a week with him down there in his store. And he had me going and cleaning the showcases and the floors and all this crap and basically making slave labor out of me.
Yeah.
I think I was 14, maybe 13 and a half. But there was a Spidey ID bracelet there that had been messed up, and somebody returned it, and he told me I could have it. And then he taught me how to engrave on the engraving machine. So I engraved something on it, not my name, but something else, and wore it to school. And the girls were like, ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm like, well, crap, girls like jewelry. I like girls. I'm not going to be a plumber. I'm going to be a jeweler. And that's how I got started. At 14 and a half years old, I went to New York City when I was supposed to be in my senior year of high school. I had gone to summer school 2 summers in a row, and I graduated from high school 6 months early because the GIA, which is the Gemological Institute of America, was a course that you took for 9 months, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So I told my parents I really wanted to do that, become a gemologist. And I figured, I didn't think I was that smart, so I better do it while I'm still got high school learning so I can maybe pass this thing. And so they took a loan out from their house and paid for me to go to school in New York. I lived in I won't tell you what I lived in up there, but it was not a very nice hotel on 45th Street. I was so scared because I'd never left North Carolina my entire life. So I stayed out of trouble because I didn't go walking the streets of New York at night in 1976.
Yeah. A little different then than it has been in recent years.
So that's how I got in the jewelry business. I mean, I graduated from the GIA. I went to school in Florida, to a store in Florida, a jewel box store in Florida, in Panama City, Florida, where he used to be. He had since moved to Charlotte and was managing the store there. And I never looked back. 1990. My wife and I at the time didn't like working with my brother and my other brother and being submitted, we decided to go on our own.
Okay.
And we had been looking and looking. So we wrote down 3 towns we wanted to move to. And the only town we both wrote down was Wilmington, She had wrote down Charleston and Savannah, and I wrote down Virginia City and Morehead City in Wilmington. I figured a smaller town wouldn't cost as much to get open. We could build a business there. So we moved here in 1991 and have never looked back. Everybody said, oh, you can't make a living in Wilmington selling jewelry. Reed's Jewelers and Kingoff Jewelers and Rhodes Jewelers, they own Wilmington. I thought, well, when my research says that 20% of the population is turning every half a year.
Yeah.
Because people are moving in here like crazy. I said, I think we can go after that 20% of new customers who don't know who the heck they are.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
Well, your logic is totally defensible. You like girls and girls like jewelry. I can see that as an absolute A equals B, B equals C kind of arrangement to opening a jewelry
It
store.
worked for me. It sure did.
Let's talk about Wilmington in the early 90s, because this, a lot of, I've seen it around, we're kind of getting the moniker now that Wilmington's becoming a 15-minute city, with how quickly we are growing and how fast the region is growing. What was it like in the early 90s for people that are new to this region?
Oh, it was nice. You could get across town in 15 minutes. Not today. It's 45 minutes to get across town, and that's if you get lucky with the lights.
Yeah.
It was much more smaller time, that's for sure. I was in the mall then, so I worked there every day. I can remember my wife. We had 3 children: Christina, Joshua, and Jordan. And she came walking in the door one evening about 7 o'clock on Thursday night, and I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And she said, "I thought you might like to see how much your children have grown since you saw them last." Because I was working, 7 days a week almost. But things have really evolved. I mean, Mayfair was not even considered back then. River Lights, I mean, God Almighty, River Road was the place you tried to do 100 miles an hour on a little sports car if you had the money. It was just it was a more simpler time for sure. But I haven't thoroughly enjoyed watching it grow. I mean, this town's been so good to me and blessed me so much that I actually am not a licensed auctioneer, but two of my brothers became licensed auctioneers, and I just picked it up kind of naturally. So I started doing auctions for charities.
Okay.
It was my way of giving back. I didn't have any money, so I said, "Well, I'll be glad to be your auctioneer." And at one point, about 10 years ago, I was probably doing 40 auctions a year.
Wow.
So 40 weekends out of the year, I was doing an auction somewhere on a Friday or Saturday night, promoting myself and the business, and it worked.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think, I've done it in my businesses where, if I don't have the treasure, then I will offer my time and my talent to organizations that I think, or causes that I think should benefit from that. And Alan, 10 times out of 10, every time I've done that, it has been consequential in my business in that I get some kind of return from that. I feel like, that's kind of getting lost in some sectors. Can you just for people who might be an aspiring jewelry store owner or gemologist, what did that mean for you personally? Like just giving your time because it was the right thing to do, and then it coming back to you full circle in the growth of your business.
Well, I've got a good friend here in town that runs a ministry called First Fruit Ministry. His name's Rick Stoker. And he told me 12, 15 years ago, he says, "Alan, you can't go wrong doing right." And so I had a lady, Beth Panko, I think her name was. It was Beth Panko. She came and wanted me to go to the Cape Fear Literacy Council gala and wanted me to donate a piece of jewelry and give her some money. And I said, "Well, I don't know about the money-wise, but I can definitely give you a piece of jewelry." And she said, "Oh, it's a Mardi Gras festival, so get your wife to dress up and, be festive." I said, "Oh, great." So, I called Debbie, my wife at the time, and said this. And she said, "Oh, I'd love to. We haven't been anywhere in a year." And so she went and got this Carmen Magia outfit and got me the Calypso Man outfit.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you were feeling yourself in that, too.
Yeah. But I was slimmer back then. So we showed up at the Coastline Convention Center, and everybody's in tuxedos and evening gowns. And she looked at me like, if looks could have killed, I'd already been dead. I said, "Damn it, she told me it was going to be this." And she said, "Well, we're going in because I got a babysitter and I want to have a night out." I'm like, "I'm not going in there dressed like this." And she said, "Oh, yes, you are." She said, "I'll be right back." And she got out of the car, went inside, got 3 beers, came back out. She says, "Chug them." So I chugged the beers and went inside, and she got us this mask. They had these masks you put on, so everybody thought they were in some kind of costume. And I thought, okay, nobody knows who the hell I am. I mean,
I'll blend in a little bit.
Yeah, I hadn't been in Wilmington but a year, and I wasn't on TV yet then. So one of the people who were there went to our church, and he recognized my wife's eyes, and he said, "That's Debbie Perry." And so they said, "Come sit at our table." And he said, "I'll give you $100 to wear that to church tomorrow." I said, "Nah, $1,000 I'll do it." And his wife says he'll pay it.
Yeah.
And so we went to church the next morning, and the pastor was like freaking ballistic. We said, "Hey, we're your missionaries from Jamaica," which was kind of funny. But that night, it was Debbie Fitzgibbon and Craig Thomas that were up there doing it. And I thought, they're losing their butts. They don't know what they're doing. And so I told the lady that ran the literacy council, then Bobby, I said, y'all have lost probably $5,000-$6,000 tonight. She said, what do you mean? I said, y'all don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
And so she was in my office, or my store the next week saying, well, I want you to join the Literacy Council Board of Directors and be on our board. And I thought, okay, because I believe in literacy. My father never got more than the third grade, and they put him in the mills in Kannapolis, the hosiery mills. And so I became their auctioneer the next year. And that's where it took off from doing the auctions. I didn't really give any money. I just gave a piece of jewelry, but I gave my time.
Yeah.
And it grew. I mean, we got to where we were doing 100 items in a night, and I'd have John Evans and Craig Thomas both working with me because I couldn't talk and do everything at once. I had to see my voice for the auction. And it would go for 2 hours,
Wow.
2.5 hours. Now auctions are maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the most. That was a good time. But from there, I just kept growing. And I had a boy that came to work for me named Gary Ray, and he was my top salesperson. He'd been with me 18 years. And I was diagnosed with diabetes, so I had to go get a gym membership, start working out. And I told Gary, I said, when you come work out, I got him a membership. And he went on a Friday night and worked out, got in his car, cranked it up, got about 10 feet, and he just fell over his steering wheel and died of a heart attack. His heart exploded. February the 29th, the last day of leap year February.
Wow.
Broke my heart. So the next year for the heart ball, I'd been doing the heart ball for a couple of years then with John Evans. I was the auctioneer, so we did a dedication to Gary. And that was the first year I pulled about a $10,000, $12,000 ring out of the store.
Yeah.
And gave it away. And then I learned it didn't hurt me to give away a $10,000 piece of jewelry.
Yeah.
It came back in droves.
Right.
People coming in shopping with us. So if you want to get started and you don't have the money, just give your time and give what you can, and it just grows. I mean, we've grown immensely.
That's a beautiful story.
It's a true story.
Yeah, beautiful story. It also brought up the visual imagery of My Cousin Vinny. Do you remember that movie when Joe Pesci's walking into the courtroom and he's got that burgundy red suit on with the tails and he's just so out of place?
Everybody knowed him.
But he walked in, he led with confidence, and as it goes, he won the case. So it kind of brought that up a little bit. We're like, I'm not going in there dressed like that.
It's been a fun doing it. I just I'm getting to where now I like my quiet time and peaceful time. So I've backed off. I do maybe 10 now. 10 or 15 of the years is all I can do. I remember one year I did the heart ball, and Mayor Sappho at the time, his first wife, was there. They just did an article in the Star News that morning about her Greek heritage and her Greek food and this and that. And she was there, and I walked up to her. I said, I want to auction you off tonight. And she said, excuse me? And I said, not for that. I said, I want to auction you off to go in and cook a meal at somebody's home. I said, a party of 8 or 10.
Yeah.
And she said, I don't want to do that. I said, you don't have to do nothing. All you got to do is just show up, act Greek, and we'll let the heart ball people take care of everything behind the scenes for you. And she said, no, I'm not interested. And she walked away. And then about 10 minutes later, she came back. She said, what do you think you could get from me? I said, I can get $2,500 for you. I know. She said, no, you can't. I said, can I please try it? She said, you can do $3,000, I'll do it. I said, well, I can't guarantee I get the $3,000.
Yeah.
I said, but if I start auctioning you off, I got to auction you off. She said, okay, I'll let you do it. So I got up there as a run-in. I had done about 4 or 5 items. I said, I got a special thing I just found out I can do tonight, and I'm going to have, I forgot her first name, but anyway, to come to your house and cook a meal. Well, there was some young kid there whose parents were filthy rich, and he was, trying to show off his money-wise. And he started bidding. I said, $2,500 to bid, now 3 to 3, now 35, and now 4. And there was another man bidding. And I'm like, I got to $4,000, then 4,500, then 555, and then 6. I said, I'm stopping at 6. I'll sell you both. She sold twice for $12,000, and her head's spinning. And I think it was the Weyerhaeuser family had been the other person that bought it. They're the only ones who actually called her up and had her come over.
Oh, really?
And do the deal.
Yeah,
the other guy
the
never
young
showed
kid,
up.
just gave his money to him.
Yeah, just gave his money that
Went
night.
to a good cause.
It did.
Yeah.
To $12,000 just from seeing an article about her in the paper that morning. It was kind of like, deja vu. It was kind of like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
So that's my philanthropic, or you call it, my giving to the community.
Yeah.
My brother just passed away in July up in Charlotte. He's been in the business for 48 years, and he was an auctioneer. And they did an article on him about 4 or 5 years ago. The jeweler who's made millions and millions of dollars and gave it all away.
What a legacy.
Yeah, and gave it all away. And they were talking about how he did for auctions. And I was talking to my wife about it when he died back in July. I said, he's probably done somewhere around $15-20 million that he's raised for charities in Charlotte over the years he did it. And he was still doing it. I mean, in fact, I'm going to go up in November and do one of his favorite charities. And again, in January and March, I'm going to do 3 auctions for him, for his daughters this year, next year. I thought, I've probably done at least, 2 or 3 million here in Wilmington. It's been kind of interesting to see, what it evolves into.
Where do you think that is that like rooted in how you guys were brought up? Like, where do you think that desire to give back comes from you and your family?
My mama.
Yeah.
She had my butt in Sunday school and church, at the time of about 5 years old. We were born and raised Baptist, so it was always a quarter for the Annie Armstrong Fund, a quarter for the Mary something fund,
Yeah.
You always gave,
Yeah.
So she taught me to be a giver. When someone died, they always took food over. So I was brought up to give, and so I've been giving back. My sons, on our 25th silver anniversary, they did a big deal and surprised me with all the charities that the store has given to, and how much they estimated we'd given, and it was quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
It blew me away.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's a great story, Alan.
My 2 favorites, I think, are I have more than 2 favorites, but I love feeding children, and I love feeding retiring old people.
Mm-hmm.
The weekend Meals on Wheels, they get no funding from anything.
Yeah.
And so I love giving to them. I love giving to Nourish and See. Matter of fact, we just did a commercial this morning. We're doing Ice Out Hunger again for the 3rd year. Whereas anytime you buy a piece of jewelry in our store this month, we're going to give a donation to Nourish and See. They're giving out 1,000 bags of food every week.
Wow.
To children in New Hanover County.
Wow.
The volunteers will go in and put it in their knapsack when they're in recess, so the other kids don't see it being put in, so they're not shamed or anything. But those bags are $10.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I'm really passionate about feeding kids. And then the older people, I'm like, damn it, they've worked all their lives, and our current situations is what, you either buy drugs or buy food.
Right.
So they'll buy the drugs, and they can't afford the food.
You shouldn't have to be forced to make that decision.
Not when you've worked all your life.
Yeah.
And you're 70, 75, 80 years old. It's not right. Anyway, so I'm very passionate about that.
I had no idea the need was that great in New Hanover County for feeding children like that. That to me, it's when you go about your life every day and you see the growth in the region and you see the opulence of some of the neighborhoods in our area. You go up and down the Intercoastal Waterway and you see houses selling for $16 million in Wilmington, a place that I'm sure you've forecasted that or maybe anticipated some of that as a new business owner in the 90s, but to know that we still have kids, and I'm a father of a 8 and 4-year-old daughter, like that speaks to me. That's crazy to me that need is that big here in Wilmington, considering everything else that we have going on.
There's not a thing in my store that you have to live through today. I'm pure luxury.
Yeah.
And I tell my staff all the time, we don't sell jewelry. We sell love. We sell emotions. We sell feelings. But when the young lady this morning at Nourish and See, we did the commercials over there because we wanted people to see the impact of the situation. Almost 1,000 kids in this county are homeless.
Wow.
Homeless. And I told my staff this morning when we came back to the store, I said, we're blessed. I mean, we come in an air-conditioned building. We have beautiful things we sell, thousands of dollars, some of them $10,000s of dollars. And yet there's kids out there that are homeless, which means if they're homeless, their parents are homeless.
Right.
But they need, and you can't learn if you got a hungry stomach. I mean, anyway, we'll get off of that, but that's my soapbox. But
I think it's a good soapbox to be on. Yeah.
It is. That's why, I'm so blessed. That's why I want to keep giving back because, the community has supported us so many years. And our business has just grown and grown and grown. I like to say that, we're family owned and we're in the store and we're on the floor every day. The other stores compete and talk about it, but my 2 sons are coming over and taking more and more of the business. They're going to eventually take it over and let me retire out of it, and so I can go and do other things. But we're all 3 on the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, you go walk into Perry's Emporium, you're going to find one of the owners on the floor just about every day. Even in Shallotte, we opened up a store down there 2 years ago yesterday. I went down there to work, and the girls were like, "Where's our champagne?" I'm like, "For what?" And they're like, "This is our 2-year anniversary." I'm like, "Oh, I forgot all about it." So I had to run down to Food Line and get some champagne. But I go down there on Tuesdays. Josh goes on Wednesdays. One of our CAD girl goes on Thursdays. Jordan goes on Friday. So we're usually somebody's in the store every day from the Wilmington store. So we give them support, and I'm really proud of that. You know, even though we have a second location, we're one of us is there. But it's just about every day we're open.
I love how you said too. You know, what you sell is love and is an emotion. You could go the rest of your life without ever buying a piece of jewelry, and you'd probably be okay from it. But like I know my wife, you know, like her wedding band and her engagement ring it's not the thing. It's what she felt at the time when she received it, and all of the events that went around our wedding. And we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary last weekend, and it was, you know, we got to sit there and look backwards for 10 years and go, you know, what was our life like over the last decade, and really get to relive those moments. And the ring and the gifts, all of that is just a symbol of what our life has meant together. How do you get your staff prepared to tell that story every day to people?
Oh man, well we train just about every morning. I mean, we have a 15-minute training session on something every morning. We have a vendor come in every month to train about their product. The ones that we support, we have them come in. At least one vendor a month comes in and does a training with us, and then we send our staff off to classes and weeks of training in other places. Our industry has training classes you can pay and go to Sarasota, Florida, or you can go to Las Vegas, or you can go to, sometimes, and even Raleigh, they have small classes. But we also offer them increases in their pay if they go take classes online.
Okay.
And they get their diploma and their certificate for it. Because product knowledge, you know, is wealthy. I mean, knowledge is wealth.
Right.
So when we know knowledge, I mean, I'm proud of the fact that we're like 1,755 star reviews in our store. Our closest store here in town is like 365 star reviews, but we've got 1,750 because we push customer service, and we sell them what they're looking for. We don't sell them what we want them to buy, and then you can feel that out what people are looking for, because you have to probe. You know, sometimes it's hard to get a man to tell you what he's looking for.
Yeah.
I always tell you to go up and shake their hand, introduce themselves to you, and they'll pretty much tell you what they're looking for.
Yeah.
If you go say, "Can I help you?" They're like, "Nope, just looking."
Yeah.
You know? And I'd hired a young kid that was a math major. He was in college, but he was working part time. I've been training with him, and sure enough, we're as busy as crap. And he walks up to the guy and says, "Hey, how you doing? What can I help you with?" And he goes, "Well, we're just looking." And he said he felt my eyes barreling into the back of his head. And he turned around and saw me, and I gave him that look. And he turned around and says, "By the way, my name's Joe."
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Oh, my name's Tony." So I said, "We're looking for engagement rings." And he says, "Oh, come on, let me show you what we got." That's all it took, was the handshake and introducing yourself. And sometimes that's all it takes to get somebody to feel comfortable. Because you can be intimidating walking to a jewelry store. I mean, because we have beautiful things. It's all lit up so you can see it, and you know, just screaming for you. I tell everything it's Foster Jewelry. You know, it's looking for a new home, and hopefully it's at your house.
We're babysitting it.
That's
for
right.
Now.
That's exactly
well,
right.
I think that story that you just told really goes back to what you said early on from your other mentor. It's hard to do wrong when you're always trying to do right. You know, and if you're investing into people, your customers are going to feel that, and that's why you all. I mean, as far as I know. And I don't know, I don't have a market share report to validate this, but everybody that I talk to in town, before any other jeweler gets mentioned, I hear about Perry's Emporium
Well,
first.
praise God.
So that's a testament to doing the right things, investing in community, investing in your people, and creating fans over customers. So kudos to you for being able to do that over a 30-year period.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of advertising.
Yeah.
I was in Belk's one night with my wife, and I was looking for these stretchy jeans. And I was like, they used to be over here, right here. And this lady was putting things underneath a cabinet, you know, in a shelf. And she never got up, turned around, and she just said, "Mr. Perry, they're one aisle over on the left." And I'm looking at this woman's rear end, you know. And she stood up, finally turned around, she says, "I'd recognize that voice anywhere." I was like, well, I know I've done my job. If you know, just here's my voice and knows who I am.
Yeah.
So I can't get in trouble and do anything in this town because I'll get caught.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to be on the front page of the news.
No, I do not want to do that.
Last couple questions for you, Alan. Like, why, and I think you've summarized it, but why do you love doing what you do?
Oh, man, you kidding me? I had a couple in the store a couple of years ago. She was every bit 80 years old, and he had to be 90. I mean, he was older than her. And they were looking, I thought, oh. So whenever we started talking, I said, you looking for like a 50th anniversary ring? She says, no, I'm just looking to see if, you know, if he wants to ask me to marry him, what kind of engagement ring I'd like to buy. And I was like, holy crap. like, oh, well, let me show you some engagement ring. And they found one she liked. He said, do you like that? She said, yeah. He said, well, would you marry me if I bought it? She said, I sure would. He said, well, then we'll take it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, wait a minute. If you're going to have to propose to her, he says, I ain't getting on one knee.
I can't physically.
But that's the reason I still do this, because I love seeing the twinkle in the eye. We had gotten these Christmas ornaments in one year, and then they looked like those anyway, the big expensive ones that were like $300 or $400.
Yeah.
These were from Reed and Barton. They were like $80. I came in to get a watch battery. I said, hey, Tom, I said, get one of these ornaments and give it to your wife for Christmas. He said, I don't need to give her a Christmas ornament. I said, well, how do you do your Christmas tree? He said, well, we bring the tree in, I put the lights up, and then she decorates it. I said, and you sit on your butt and watch her? He says, well, yeah, kind of. I'm watching a football game or something.
Yeah.
I said, well, buy the ornament. This might not be appropriate for TV or a podcast. I said, buy the ornament. I said, when she gets to be almost through, I said, go out in your car or wherever you put it and bring it to her and say, honey, I want to surprise you for maybe a new tradition and give you an ornament for Christmas, before Christmas. He looked at me. I said, give me $85 and get out of here.
Yeah.
And
ain't gonna ruin you.
Yeah, it ain't. About 3 weeks later, he come barreling through the door. Perry, you got any more of them ornaments? I thought, you had a nice evening, didn't you?
I told you.
That's another reason. Sometimes you just got to lead. Sometimes men, they don't know what they want to do, and they just need to be led a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've got a great staff that helps them do that.
That's good.
I think our returns at Christmas or after Christmas are usually somewhere around 2%. And the national average is like 12 to 14.
Wow.
Yeah, so we do a very good job of giving them what they really want. Although I did have a lady come in one year. She said, would you quit selling my husband a pearl necklace and diamond studs for Christmas? She says, I've already got 3 pearl necklaces and 3 pairs of diamonds. Because I used to run that every Christmas after our Let It Snow event. I'd run pearl necklace and diamond studs. And she's like, he comes in every year and buys what you tell me about.
That's good advertising.
I didn't see him. I would have told you already bought that. So now we got in our computer, we can say, this is what you bought in the past.
Right.
Make sure we don't duplicate it.
Yeah. Let me show you something that would complement all those other things that you bought recently.
Yeah, we like the ladies to come in and give us a wish list of what they'd like to have, and then we call the guys up and say, hey, she's picked out 5 things. She's picked out 57 things. Come in and get one or 2, and that works for us.
I hope my wife doesn't see this episode, because last thing I need is another wish list from her.
I'm going to take this thing and chop it up, put it on Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love the Christmas ornament conversation. My wife and I, every time we travel somewhere, we buy a Christmas ornament from there, and it is again, it's just an experience. Every year we pull out the Christmas tree, we put up the light. We've gone to a fake tree now because it's just easier to store and it lasts long term, and the lights are already built into it. But getting to put the ornaments up, we revisit all the places that we've been together, and again, it's just about revisiting our love, our memories, the emotions that we felt when we went to Greece or Italy or heck, even Clearwater Beach, Florida for our 10-year anniversary. It's like we kind of get transported back to that place.
Yeah, you got to work at it though.
Yeah, you got to work.
You got to work at it. Marriage is not something that just happens to go good for you. I mean, you got to work on it. I've learned that. You can't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta just forgive and keep going, because you're not any better than she is, or she's not any better than you are. But it's kind of fun. I used to have one guy come in and buy 3 or 4 different charms and stuff. So what are you doing? So we just get out of the doghouse charms. But he liked to drink, so he went to the bar.
He would pocket him
give her a piece of jewelry when he got in trouble.
He just had him in his glove box or something. He's like, well,
had him in his briefcase.
Yeah, better get ahead of this one.
Yep.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah, he just passed away about 1.5 years ago, and I was able to settle his estate for him. And she had gone into dementia and passed away 2 or 3 years before him, but they were great customers back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But it was kind of an honor that their children came to me and says, hey, we need you to help us, because he bought Mom a lot of jewelry.
Yeah.
And that was kind of fun.
That's such a testament to, being in one place for a long amount of time, these relationships you get to build with the community. You become, again, to, the intro, you become a very important part of a community's life.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I started hiring jewelry craftsmen that can repair jewelry and help design jewelry. I started about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Usually a jewelry store will have one jeweler, maybe 2. And we had 2 jewelers that worked side by side. So I hired 2 more. And my son was like, Dad, we can't afford it. We don't need it. I said, I really think people need to have more options than what they have in town. And I see a need for this, because we're running 2 weeks behind now to get somebody's jewelry fixed. So I started hiring more jewelers. And when the pandemic hit, COVID, when it came over, people were coming in like crazy to get their jewelry fixed.
Yeah.
And now I have 6 full-time jewelers
Wow.
out there, and I have 3 jewelers who are silversmith and goldsmith, and they're ladies because they seem to have more eye to detail and attention. They take the jewelry in now, and we're doing everything in-house. And unfortunately, we're probably back to a week behind now, but I'd like for us to stay at 3 days, 4 days service. But, like you said, jewelry is a family or a neighborhood thing. Well, it is. Most of the time, it's not so much buying the jewelry as getting the jewelry serviced.
Yeah.
I mean, the stories you hear, it's just, I have, I'll say her name, Pastor McGee's wife came in. Her mother had just passed away, and she wanted to have this ring that her mother wore all her life. She died at 99. She wanted to be able to wear it. And I said, Norma, we can't fix this ring to be worn. I said, but we can take a 2mm wedding band and maybe get a mill grain edging on it, and we can cut this ring and spread it out, and we can solder it on top of the band. That way you can wear it for another 10, 15 years. Yeah. And she's like, you can do that? I'm like, yeah. And just to see her light up, it's like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a jewelry sale. It was a service, and providing the need that's in the community.
Yeah.
And that's what I like.
That's how we did it with my wife. I had my grandmother on my dad's side. Interesting connection here. My grandfather was a plumber, built houses, could do anything with his hands.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they were Depression era family, born in the late, or the early 1920s. And so my grandmother had an engagement band and a wedding ring, very modest, 1/4-carat stones in there, probably had some inclusions and stuff. But the gentleman who made my wife's wedding ring took all of those 1/4-carat diamonds, set it in a way that my wife was out of this world thrilled with, and put a headstone on it. And it was like perfect. As soon as I showed it to her, it had the history and the heritage and the provenance from my family, plus a little modern spin on it. And so it's something that she's proud to wear, but then she gets to tell that story too.
Yep. And she'll pass it down to your daughter.
Exactly.
Or your son to give to his wife.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
That's what
it
it's
really
all about.
is.
Well, Alan, I get the sense I could talk to you for hours about nothing and anything all at the exact same time. But we got to wrap this one up. People know where to find you. It's perrysemporium.com is where you want to go if you want to go online. And then you've got 3 store locations, right?
We have 2 right now, Wilmington and Shallotte. And we're building up a store location in Hampstead. It'll be open next year.
Next year. Any idea on time frame of when that one will be open?
Good Lord willing, to be before Valentine's Day.
Yeah. It just depends on how long your contractor needs to get supplies and labor done there.
Yep.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for inviting me. I had a great time.
Thank you. Good. Glad you did. That's going to do it for this episode of the Connect Cape Fear podcast. Feel free to get in touch with us, and please support Perry's Emporium, a great local business who is really investing in our community and has done so.
I'll second that. Amen.
Yeah, has done so for over 3 decades. So if you're on your Christmas wish list, Perry's Emporium is the place to go. Alan, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.